Super Bowl, really, honestly, I should admit all of this. I've found it a little bit interesting. I do care where you put your mail and your flour, but it's really just stalling on the Sabre thing. The Super Bowl, the Senior Bowl, the draft, Myles Garrett, prop bets.
There's no shortage of stuff
I know.
that is interesting today.
I know, but the idea of committing time and energy to a reaction or a lack thereof, clearly a lack thereof, to a questionable hit in a meaningless hockey game, the first day of Super Bowl week is offensive to me. I mean, I always have hated this particular fistic justice in hockey. I've always hated the conversation so much. If you don't mind, I mean, I know I'm in sports talk radio. I'm not supposed to hate any topic that's within the realm of sports talk, but it's always just such a dead end. And here we are. It's the first. Maybe the first moment of the Sabre season that's interesting. That
I think that's right.
That, teammates, leaders on the ice, when Thompson went down, skated around in circles and pretended like they didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to see it happen. It's usually close, whether it's dirty. You see a guy go down in an NHL game on a hit like that, always. Does that guy get jumped? Always.
Yes.
Always.
Right. And if you don't know who the perpetrator was because you actually didn't see it, which is, plausible. I'm not every one of these guys. I don't know. I'm watching on TV. Of course I saw it. The officials on the ice saw it well enough to chase the guy around who committed the hit, Nuisen. There's your clue. You don't need a supercomputer to figure out what just happened, right? Matthias Samuelsson is probably the guy in the worst shape of everyone who's on the ice here, because he's the big, rugged, stay-at-home guy. He's not a notorious face puncher or anything, but his value is in being hard to play against. Right? Owen Power is a bigger dude, but is not that player at all. Those are the two defensemen on the ice. Yuri Kulik is on the ice, and I think Peterka probably, if that line was still intact on the ice.
Kulik is facing the play coming back up. So he would have seen it happen.
He sees it, and I don't hold him accountable at all. That is not the guy. It'd be fine if he wanted to go show up and cross-check the guy. I don't think you need to be the toughest guy in the world to just show up. That's all you're really looking for, right? The opportunity to teach this guy a lesson or anything is probably not going to be there. But you have to show up and raise the ruckus. Even if you don't mean it. It's hockey. You show up. Star player on the ice, helmet kicked to the side, linesman chasing this guy around. You're Matthias Samuelsson. The alarm should go off. You don't need to have set a notification on your phone to tell you who did this. The guy's skating right by you, and the linesmen are making sure to get in between him and you. So go get in there and just sort of do the thing you do that's probably meaningless, but at least we're not having this conversation about them being a bunch of gutless you-know-whats.
Make it look good.
Just make it look good. Keep up appearances. It's hockey. Again, this is what you do. Now more than ever, even. I think the league has gone so completely sideways that perfectly clean legal hits get met with multiple teammates sometimes jumping the guy who laid the hit.
That's right.
And this wasn't anywhere close to a legal hit. Not that you know that. All you need to know, again, guy on the ice, helmet kicked to the side, linesman chasing this guy around. Okay, I think I know what to do here. I'm a grown man, and I've been playing hockey my whole life. I think I know what to do here.
Look, so
go do it.
The aspect of it where other players on the ice are supposed to know whether it's dirty, the refs don't even know anymore. They don't even call it anymore. They're just going to wait for the replay, which is what they did. They didn't call the penalty.
They called the 5, and then they reviewed it to see if it was a 5 or indeed a 2. Eventually, I think the call
Rob
on the
said
ice,
they did not raise their arms.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
That's what Rob said.
All right.
That no penalty was called.
Huh.
And then they talked and called one, and then they reviewed it. Oh,
gotcha.
Doubly good.
I stand corrected.
No, but just like this is sports now. Baseball, football, hockey, maybe every other sport where we're like, let's just check it. We don't have to call the penalty. I don't even know well enough anymore. I'm so distant from the Sabres and the NHL. Like, if the rules are different, like I would in football, I think, but if the rules are different, if the penalty is called in the first place or not, like it is, on a close call in football, well, here's the play that was called on the field.
Like I sort of alluded to just now, when they did eventually get around, the protocol now is a play like that where you're not sure the level of crime committed, you call the 5, that allows you to review it, and then you can de-escalate down to a 2 and just have it be a regular minor penalty, or you can uphold the 5 and kick the guy out of the game, which is where they ended up last night. So there is a mechanism in place now that sort of takes care of that for the officials. And I've seen it in Sabres games, I've seen it in plenty of games where they call the 5, review it, and go like, actually, it wasn't that bad. Sorry, your guy got hurt, and they just call a 2. But nonetheless,
maybe though there is what we have in football sometimes, where it's like somebody can just tell you to call the 5 to give yourself that out.
Right. That's what I think happens.
That's what probably happened if they didn't raise their arm.
Right. The level of injustice on the play is irrelevant to the outcome here. It could have been a perfectly legitimate check. It could have been the dirtiest hit you've ever seen. It doesn't matter if you saw it or not. Again, the action is dude on the ice, face down, helmet rolling around,
star player, and the linesmen are. I mean, they're the most aggressive people on the ice in the aftermath of the play. Are the linesmen trying to make sure that someone on the Sabres doesn't go cross-check Noeson in the face? And they had nothing to worry about.
No,
like the linesmen almost look like you're really not going to make this hard for me.
Right,
they're just standing there with the Devils guys in between them, and they're just talking. At center ice in the circle, they're just talking to each other. It could be like, they're not even really talking. They're just moving their lips or something.
When all this first started percolating, I was watching the game. I mean, I knew what was happening. But as it went, my first thought was, did Noeson go right to the bench? Did he hit this guy and go right to the bench? Because he's at his own blue line or somewhere thereabouts, and he sort of circled around after he died. Like, maybe he just went right off the ice. No. He skated right up to center ice, right to where Samuelsson and Power were standing. That's when the linesman got there. And the 2 Sabre defensemen did not have the wherewithal to take any of the obvious visual clues to get them to act. And, it's embarrassing. We've had this a lot of times over the years. I mean, most famously, probably Lucic on Miller. Preceding that by a couple of years, you remember, this tripped a wire for me because these are just things I remember so specifically for no good reason. Sunday afternoon game with the Rangers and Gomez behind the net on Miller. Like there's he hits his left leg into Miller's right leg or something, and there's a whole big thing about how they didn't react. It was a Sunday afternoon. So I remember the Monday we were in here. This goes back. This is probably like
09.
Oh yeah, in there somewhere, like non-playoffs, but right after Drury and Briere left. Right, I know.
What are the odds?
So we've been around the block a million times on it, and I've probably been in different places to varying degrees depending on how much I liked the team at the time. Like, it's fine. You don't have to go crazy. They didn't know what happened or whatever, and I just want all of that back. Anytime I've ever said that, tried to give them an out for anything, I want it all back. Because the bottom line is, in hockey, that happens, you show up. Whether you're 180 pounds soaking wet and the guy who did it is 230, you just show up and you raise some sticks and you grab some glove wash faces and you say some mean things, and then we all go, okay, well, at least they had his back.
You don't
appreciate that.
You don't have to throw your gloves and sticks in the air and just chase the guy around.
Right.
I mean, you don't have to be so obvious.
Right.
What you're saying is right, and
they just couldn't be bothered to do any of that yesterday. Any of it. And look, I don't want to infer from that they don't like one another or that they have no. I don't know what it means, but I keep hearing, and I haven't really gotten around to knowing exactly how to ask the question of anyone involved. But if you guys like each other so much, like, what is the problem here? There's talent. You got the roster is not bereft of talent and ability. and yet you just can't seem to get on the same page enough. And I don't know, but boy, any idea that this is some super tight-knit group that has each other's backs and love one another, like some above and beyond any other of the drought teams we've been living with for the last 14 years, went out the window with that last night.
Is that said? Has that been...
Oh, yeah, it comes up pretty frequently that it's a very close, tight-knit group. They really love and care for one another. Yeah, golf clap. Thank you for that.
How about the excuse that we didn't want to take a penalty? Come on. You're worried about a cross-check. It's a crime against hockey. What happened? You're worried about a...
Yeah.
What? Tell me, break it down for me, hockey players. Break down the win probability for me with a 2-goal lead in the third period if you get a minor. On top of whatever they're getting.
And they already have... Yeah, I mean, you don't know what they're getting, but still, right. Okay.
If you don't have to even... the point isn't to, like, process it. It's a reaction thing.
That's right.
And... to think like somebody's worried about a minor, what is the win probability change with that minor? It's pretty small. Not the I don't think it'd be fair to mention where they are in the standings. Like to me, that's not relevant to the players. You want the players to be giving their all at all times, and that's what would happen in almost every instance if they were. You would get a reaction without regard to technically, was it clean? Who the other guy is wouldn't matter. You just go take it.
I think it's the kind of a situation. All due respect, like I'm also not of the mind of like you're X points out of a wild card spot. Your season is circling the drain. What do you do? They're competing. They're out there. They're playing a hockey game.
Doesn't matter.
And they want to try to win the hockey game at the level best they can. But again, back to what happens in hockey, like you must be the most level-headed competitors ever if you are in that moment processing everything I've said already 10 times. Thompson face down on the ice, the helmet rolling around, the linesman chasing this guy around. You're going, well, it's 4-2.
I know,
or whatever the score is at the the visceral reaction of a competitor is your dude is face down and his helmet's rolling around and the linesmen are chasing the guy clearly who did this. So go do something again. Just show up and just sort of be annoyed.
If the rule,
that's it.
If the rule were to like whatever touch somebody, cross-check, push 10 games. If you got 10 games in the NHL for whatever sort of like a milder response to that would be, I'll listen to that. 10 games, I'll listen to that. But maybe this isn't, I'm computing just in these quick seconds whether my response to this situation would cost me a 10-game suspension without pay. I'll listen to that. A cross-checking penalty? A minor penalty? In game 52? When you're 1% to make the playoffs? Mm-hmm. There, I just did it, but shouldn't have been. That's not really fair to make that part of it. Where they are in the standings should not be part of it because you want them to be trying. That's the argument there always is from the players, about the players when we're talking about tanking. Like, well, what are the players doing? What do you want them to do? Not try?
Yeah, I can't go out here and cooperate with you on that. Right.
No, you'd never ask for that. You'd never expect it. You'd never ask for that. But it's a crime against hockey to just leave them there.
Yes.
And stand there, no matter who the players are. Like, it just... And what do you think of Ruff? So, he wants to defend him, and he does it in sort of an angry way, because what is he supposed to say otherwise? But, I don't know, does he mean it? What happened to Lindy Ruff if he meant it?
I want to say I hope not. I mean, I don't know. A part of me, I watch, because, something like this happens, you're watching everything, right? And I often will watch Lindy, and I did this with Granado and everybody on the way through, but I'll often, the game ends, oh, here comes the social media feed of the post-game scrum, fine, I'm here, I'll watch it. Of course, something like last night happens, or yesterday afternoon happens, I gotta stop saying night, I've already, $50 in fines on day versus night game. Anyway, you want to see it and hear it and watch it for yourself as opposed to just read quotes, right? I feel like at the end, when he's talking about something completely different, right? Not tightening up or something. I can't remember what phrase he was referring to, but the way he says "finally." We're finally making progress in this. Whether it's getting tight at the end with a lead or whatever it was, finally, and there's a palpable anger that I don't want to assume it's transference of frustration about the thing with the not responding to the hit, but he sounded mad at his team the way he emphasized. We finally have figured out how to do this one thing we've been harping on since September or something. I don't know.
What pass would you give a coach of a team who goes 50 games before they're bonded? Why is the coach not responsible for that? A lot of things coaches say, they think they are sort of deflecting blame or criticism, but really a lot of these areas are areas where it really should be their responsibility in the first place. How good a job is a coach doing if the team isn't together? Or if the team can't figure out how to what does that say about you? I think you're trying to get across that I'm doing what I think is my best and it's not working. But anything you say like that is too specific and too damning. So you get things like that maybe.
Right.
But I have no sympathy for a coach who, 14-year playoff drought. He's heralded returning to the organization in the area, and we're into February now, and we figured out how to try. What does that say about the job performance? Man.
So I don't know. For him, he's at the point of attack in both of these other instances that I referred to. This Gomez on Miller thing from whenever that was, 08 or 09. Of course, the famous thing in Boston with Lucic and Miller. That's Lindy. That's all Lindy. And to varying degrees. I don't know. There's a narrative out there that that day in Boston, that was it for that group. That was it. They're heartless. Everyone knows it. It's on display now, and good luck running away from it. And then, a few weeks later, Paul Gaustad fights Milan Lucic, and you're like, okay, that I still don't feel good, but okay. And I don't know, he just has got to have some kind of I don't know, the recall of this sort of subject coming up again on his watch has just got to be infuriating, because again, it's just not a complicated situation at all.
It's an instinct.
Yes. Yes.
It might not say anything about the team. It might say things about the players, which are not the whole team. Guys on the bench jumped up.
Yep.
Was it Tuck maybe? It's whoever's in the middle of the bench jumps up immediately, giving you the impression maybe they were ready to take somebody on, but they're on the bench.
Right.
I wouldn't have minded if the guy comes off the bench. There's your suspension.
Right.
So I get why you don't see that anymore.
Right.
But are we going to just let this happen?
But again,
or no?
if you again are Samuelson in power, if you are completely oblivious to what has happened, even with the visual clues that I'm talking about, Thompson on the ice face down, the helmet rolling around, the linesman chasing the perpetrator around, I think all I got to do is look
to your bench.
Ask Alex Tuck. He's going to tell you it was 11 or whatever the hell number Noeson is wearing. I think that's it. You're home. If you have the desire and know that how you're supposed to behave in that situation, to find the solution is not difficult. Okay. So again, the idea of nobody saw it is just, to me, not defensible.
Yeah, there were some really interesting quotes. They were confused. Was that Darlene's word? Confusion. Somebody's word was confusion. What's so confusing about this? The thing that's ever confusing about those moments in the NHL, which a lot of them do kind of seem like just, all right, whatever, let's get through this, is whether the hit was clean. That's really hard. It's kind of a little bit hard on this play. Yes, it's up. It's the kind of thing that gets called now, and that's, I think, a good thing. It's not like he takes this long run at him or anything like that. Guys are moving. It's really fast. I can appreciate that. Boom. So what's confusing can be because two reasonable people could go back and forth for the end till the end of time on whether a play was really dirty, just 1 to 10, whatever. That's what's confusing. The one thing that never is confusing in those situations is that the offended team is all over the perpetrators, and then it goes away in 30 seconds. And then you did the thing that everybody hates if you don't do it. And you don't have to win fights. You don't have to even fight. You don't have to do anything more than stand up. When you don't stand up, you get this.
Right.